Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm going to be talking about a film that is a adaptation of a famous play also called Fences that I'm reviewing for you today. Denzel Washington directed this movie and starred in this movie, and it's about an ordinary man who pursues the life of a garbage man, and like I said, he's just living kind of the ordinary life. He's just, goes home at the end of the day, just wants to relax, maybe has a drink or so with a friend or so forth that he knows from work, and just kind of calls it a day after that. But as things goes on, his youngest son, who is a really successful football player in school, he's always coming home with good news, and is the new captain of the team, and always has these really good academic things that are going on with him in school. And because the father, kind of didn't really do well in school and kind of had a rough background and so forth. He just kind of blows this off at first, like, oh, he's just a kid. He's just this stupid kid that's just trying to be better than me and so forth. So he just kind of blows it off. But after a while, the kid keeps coming home with great news, and people are really saying, oh, he might be the better person that's going to represent your family here in the future and so forth. So after a while, Denzel Washington just really has enough of this, goes really rough on his kid here after a while. And so the two of them have just this uneasy father and son relationship at this home, and Viola Davis has to witness all this. She plays the wife in this movie, and so it just becomes really uneasy between the three of them in this house. They also have an older son who's long moved out, but every once in a while will come in the house for money and so forth. So Denzel Washington gets annoyed with him and so forth. The next point in this movie I really can't talk about for too much, but just to kind of get you ready for what the movie is. There's this really dark secret that one of these people has in this house that eventually gets revealed. And once it does get revealed, the family gets broken even further. So Denzel Washington, who's kind of this drunk, um, not very responsible father, and Viola Davis, who's just kind of the wife who's just trying to provide for everybody and make sure everybody's happy, and the son who's always coming home with good news and with football and with a job and with academics. He's just trying to, let everybody know how great things are going, but the father just really just nails on him and just really makes sure that his life gets miserable when he's back at this house. So there's just all this stuff going on throughout the course of Fences. So this family has to figure out what can they really do to just kind of better the family and get out of this really horrible scenario that they seem to always be stuck in. So overall, guys, I thought Fences was all right. It was a big deal at the Film Academy. It was nominated for a lot of awards. Viola Davis won an award for her performance in the movie. So there's a lot of good things I can say about Fences, but unfortunately, there's a couple things about it that keep me from, really recommending it to the best potential I probably could. So, from my positives and negatives of Fences, I thought this film was very well acted. Denzel Washington, Viola Davis, the actor who plays the son in this, the actor who plays the oldest son in this as well. Everybody gives great performances in this movie, so it's a very well acted film. I also like how dialogue driven the story is. I like how the story is told through dialogue, the actions, the development of the characters. Everything is very dialogue driven with this movie. So you can tell it's definitely based off a play because the play, I'm sure, was very dialogue driven with how we learn about characters and what their backgrounds are and where things are going to go next and so forth. So I like the dialogue driven aspect of the storytelling in this. It's very unique. I also liked how the character development and the story details are also very dialogue driven. We learn a lot about the details and the characters and all that stuff through dialogue driven scenes in this movie. There's also some very impactful moments in this movie when big reveals happen. It really hits you when Denzel Washington does a really horrible thing to his family. It really hits you. Or when the son does something and the family's not giving him credit that he feels like he deserves. It really hits you. Or when Viola Davis is sharing something about her life that really impacts you. It really does hit you very hard over the head and stuff. So there's just a lot of very impactful moments in this movie. There's also some very effective effects that they use throughout this movie to kind of create an illusion and a feeling about certain things that are going on with this movie. So when Denzel Washington's very drunk, or when it's very tension filled, or when a certain character is supposed to feel dominant in the scene and stuff, there's a lot of effective special effects that they use that kind of help you feel um, a further sense of like dominance or a drunk person. So there's just all these effects that really help move the story along, I felt as well. But for my negatives of Fences, um, I thought there could have been more film aspects to this story. It just feels like a televised play after a while. And I really feel like if Fences wanted to be more so a film over a televised play, like it felt, there's just aspects of it that I felt could have been more film like. Um, there's parts where you can tell it's trying to break the whole play thing and trying to move into a movie more so. But there's, like I said, there's a lot of parts though that just really feel like it just could have been done on a stage somewhere. Not a lot is done as far as lots of environments going on and so forth. So just there more aspects of this film I thought could have been more movie-like than the film allows itself to be. I also feel like this film is very overlong. There's just a lot of scenes here that feel like they go way longer than they should. I would say a good 20 to 25 minutes could have been trimmed out of this movie. There's just a lot of scenes that really just kind of build on to something that's already established and resolved, or there's just a lot of footage here that feels like it just goes on longer than it should have. So as a result, the film feels a little overlong as a result. I also feel that not a lot of characters change throughout the movie. I feel like a lot of these characters are the same people by from the beginning of the movie, and they're the same character by the end of the movie. So for a movie that's really trying to be about, changing people for the better and people realizing something horrible about themselves or something good about themselves or something, where people tell you that you're doing this really horrible thing and you're not supposed to feel that way. I really feel like a lot of these characters are just kind of the same people by the end of the movie overall. I also would have liked to have seen more moments that felt more like the 1950s. I felt like by the time the film was over with, it really could have been any decade this story could have happened in. There's just not a lot of 1950s elements to this movie. Like what was Elvis Presley doing at this time? What were some of the major events going on between all this stuff at this house? What were some things that were going on in this town that uh, maybe could have emphasized just how um, disstructured or dysfunctional this family was, compared to everybody else. So I would have really liked to have seen more of the time period work its way into this movie. How they could have done that, I really don't know. Whether the play really incorporated a lot of that or not, I really don't know. But I really feel like this film could have taken place in any decade, and maybe that was the feeling, was the fact that a lot of this stuff could happen in any time in any decade. But for me personally, if it really wants to be the 1950s, be the 1950s. There's just a lot of scenes here that could have been the 60s or could have been the 70s. It just really doesn't specifically feel like the 1950s in certain scenes in this movie. So overall, I'm going to give Fences a 7.5 out of 10. It's very well acted. The dialogue driven moments really do feel strong, especially when they have to do a lot of things with the dialogue. Um, there's a lot of really impactful moments with the drama and so forth. Some of the special effects do add to the scenes at times, but there's a lot of moments here that really could have benefited from feeling more like a film than like a play. It really is a little too long for its own good. More character changes could have happened over the course of this movie, and I really would have preferred a film that really would have felt more like the 1950s over just any time period it could have possibly happened in. So 7.5 out of 10 for me. It's all right. Not a film I'm gonna tell you to rush out and go see right away. It's all right if it's a rainy day, you don't have really anything else to watch. Give it that one-time view if you have to. Fences is an okay film that is probably just worth one viewing, and then you'll be done with it.